Welcome to That Don't Sound Right. That Don't Sound Right is a podcast about talking the way we did before the internet, when you couldn't prove anyone right or wrong.
All the expertise was contained in the people involved with the conversation. I'm Peter.
And I'm Cecil. And we hope you enjoy our conversations. And as you listen, if you find yourself silently saying, "That don't sound right," leave us a comment. You're one of us. Enjoy the show. If you're from Eastern North Carolina and someone says doodlebug, you probably think of summer evenings and a little insect that lives at the bottom of an inverted sandy pyramid and maybe fishing it out with a piece of pine straw. But if you're from Western North Carolina, doodlebug has a different definition. Exactly what is a doodlebug if you lived up around the Boone area?
Doodlebug was a tractor. It was a short crane. It was a tow truck. It was a snowplow. It was a fire truck. And it was even did irrigation.
Hey, welcome back to That Don't Sound Right. I'm Cecil.
And I'm Peter. Hey, welcome back, everyone, for another episode. We've got listener number one, Scott, with us.
Hi. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thanks for being back here. I hear you've got some pretty amazing thing to share with us that we might not believe. But go ahead and get into it.
Well, we'll see. I was talking to Cecil about this, and he showed him a picture, and he wanted to hear about my grandfather's contraption he made called the Doodlebug. So,
is this what was your grandfather's occupation? What was his specialty?
So the only occupation he did for most of his life was fixing shoes. His nickname was Boot Black.
All right.
Really?
Or Mr. Boot, as people around Bowling Rock called him.
No kidding.
Yep. And so, but he had lots of talents. He built things. He was very mechanically inclined.
Like your brother. Isn't your brother an engineer?
Yes. The difference is my grandfather is self-taught.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
And so he very talented. You remember the episode of Andy Griffith's show where I think that the freezer died and
yes.
Andy kept saying, "Call the man, ain't be."
Yeah.
I come from a line of people who never called the man.
They were the man.
They were the man. They fixed. It didn't matter if you didn't know how to do it; you still did it yourself.
They were the man.
So
This is our kind of people.
I
Yes,
can relate.
exactly.
I can relate.
Yeah.
So the Doodlebug was a tractor. It was a short crane. It was a tow truck. It was a snowplow. It was a fire truck. And it was even did irrigation for agriculture. So it had lots of things. It was built on an old Army deuce and a half truck frame.
I've seen
Wow.
it. Okay.
And it had I think like a Chevy engine, and it wasn't particularly powerful, but it had an open architecture. Yes, about it. There was two tractor seats.
Okay.
One for driving forward, one for sitting in when you're operating one of the two booms. That there's a boom on the front and a boom on the back.
All right.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
I think this is where we say that don't sound right.
Well, you might want to save that. And this next little fact is the one. It had two 4-speed transmissions in a row. So you could actually have 16 forward gears and 4 reverses.
There we go.
There's where the don't sound right.
My brother, the engineer, actually, he actually remembered. He was a little older than me and remembered this a lot better. So I kind of called him for some help on this. So shout out to Kelvin on this, and you know his number if you want to argue with some of this. But yeah, there was he did allow that many of those forward and reverse speeds were probably so close to each other it was hard to tell.
But did it have 2 clutches? Because conceivably you would need 2 clutches if you have.
Couldn't tell you. We didn't get that far, so maybe.
How many pedals did it have?
I don't remember. I did have another transmission or two that ran. Well, one that ran the front winch, one that ran the back winch, and I believe one that possibly engaged the water pump he had mounted to the front for fighting fire and or irrigating the garden.
What year are we talking here? What time frame?
It was
What circa?
64, 65.
I suspect the original truck frame was probably a World War II era vehicle.
No. Like what year did he build it?
Yeah,
what year was it?
there was two.
Okay.
There was 1.0, and then either wore it out or
You can always upgrade. There's always room for upgrades.
Well, then there was 2.0, but with each one there was many upgrades. There was probably a 1.1, 1.112. So it was like an erector set that you could always add to or take off as you needed. The winches he built himself too. He took an acetylene tank, filled it full of concrete, and welded some truck wheels on either side because to wrap the cable around.
Right.
Yeah. So there was that. It was in the drivetrain to that. There was a big leather belt that you engage to engage the winch. And I think there was some slip built into that.
So, did it ever fight a fire?
It was always. I remember him telling me that if the house ever catches on fire, he wanted to be able to pump water out of the creek, and he had some hose. So I don't know that it did. I did observe it pull many skiers out of side ditches on the going up the Appalachian Ski Mountain.
No kidding.
Yeah. So
which road?
That road.
That road to the Appalachian.
Yeah.
Okay.
So,
is that where y'all lived?
Yep.
No
So
kidding.
the Doodlebug, you mean the skiers going up to ski?
Yeah.
We can run off the road.
Yeah, they get slide off the road.
Yeah.
And, they come say, hey, can I call a tow truck? And he'd say, no, he got you taken care of. And he'd drive over there and yank them out. And this thing had no suspension to speak of, if any. And so it was a little rough on the roads.
That don't feel right.
Yeah, it don't feel right.
But this was known throughout the Black Mountain area.
Blowing Rock. Blowing Rock area. Yeah, it was known. It was, people have stories of stumps that got pulled out. He set beams on top of houses and construction.
Oh, because he had a crane.
Yeah,
right?
it was very well known around Blowing Rock. So you're back to the question. I think probably that's a good question. Probably 50s is when this started, but it was definitely into the 60s, and I was around kind of the 60s, 70s kid. So I was definitely familiar with 2.0.
So I suspect that each time he needed something, he needed to accomplish some task, he said, let's add to the Doodlebug.
Yeah.
I need a crane.
Yes.
I'm going to add to the Doodlebug.
Exactly.
I need to be able to pump water, put out my fire if it ever happens. Add it to the Doodlebug.
Yep.
I gotcha.
That's how it worked. Yeah. So, and I think there's maybe some parts still around somewhere. Somebody kind of wanted to restore it and took it away, and I don't know that restoration ever happened. But I believe it's still around Blowing Rock somewhere.
Really?
Yeah?
Yeah.
That would be cool to go
We should go
see
find
it.
It did have a feature that might not sound right. It had an unpressurized cooling system.
Huh.
Oh, okay, yeah. all
You
right.
know why?
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 I don't think it would ever build up pressure. It had a lot of leaks.
Let's say,
There was a milk can, the old-fashioned milk
Yeah.
cans involved that I think held the coolant. And
there's your pressure.
yeah,
And you just filled
you
up
just had
like
to
a
keep
gravity,
water.
a gravity feed cooling
Yes,
system.
it was. If you look at the picture,
I'll
you
look
can
at
see
it.
the milk can in.
And we'll put the picture up on the TDSR podcast Instagram.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll do that.
I
So-
saw a picture of it. I thought it was, for some reason it looked like a Conestoga wagon that had been retrofitted with a crane and
Right.
other.
And a 6-cylinder engine.
Yeah, right.
The what was I going to go ahead? I lost my train of thought, which will probably happen several
Yeah,
times. during the
I don't.
podcast.
I was trying to see if any other features I've left out. There was one story. This was kind of fun. They were. He was working in the woods, pulling out trees or something, and somewhere the rear end axle dropped out.
Okay.
Yeah. So no problem.
Not for him. He had a crane to pick himself up.
You just he took the winch, he wrapped it around, pulled it up, Drove on
back
back.
in?
It was full-time four-wheel drive. So
I know I was going to say. So I'm sure this was loaded with safety features.
yeah, so there's
Roll cage, 5-point harness.
What was the gas storage compartment?
I
What
think
was
the
that?
gas
Was it
storage was an old
55
Army,
gallon drum?
an Army issue gas can, I believe. The
Okay,
green.
yeah.
ones that-
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I believe
A
that's
jerry
what it was.
can.
A jerry can, yes.
All right.
It was funny. So I was talking to my brother about this, and it had a big steel beam that ran across the top, and to change you could position the booms along that beam so to change the angle. And I said, I guess it also served as a roll bar,
There we go.
Right.
which met with silence from my brother. He said, "Yeah, you can tell yourself that," but safety was not the not the first concern.
And he drove it on public roads, like on 321?
He did. He drove it. He'd drive it from his house to 321 over to Blowing Rock and around town, and
Wherever there was a need.
I believe it probably got considered farm equipment.
I've always loved Blowing Rock in that area.
Yeah.
I love it even more that he is able to drive his vehicle around.
Yeah.
That's perfect.
Yeah. It'd be fun to go find that thing.
Yeah,
Do you think it's parked somewhere?
I can find.
It's not
out.
in the family anymore.
It's not in the family anymore, but up there, everybody's kind of family if you've been around for a few years.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Huh.
It sounds like a good quest this summer for the TDSR staff.
Well, we're mobile now with our Manocaster Lite.
We could be on location.
We could be on location.
All right.
We could do a live through our Podbean platform. We can actually do a live episode.
Live episode with the Doodlebug.
That's what we're looking
impressive,
for.
Yeah.
Maybe we could meet up with team up with one of the YouTubers that specialize in resurrecting old vehicles that have been in farms forever and say, hey, come on over and let's see if you can get this thing started.
Right.
Okay.
Were you the one that listens to the podcast where they try to go and just start an old car out in a junkyard?
It's a YouTube video, but yes.
Yeah. Was that you?
Yeah.
So my grandfather, one of his famous lines, he had several old vehicles around for parts and things.
Okay.
And there was I think it was a 48 Chevrolet that had maybe been my dad's. But I said, hey, does that car run? He said, well, it was driving when I parked it there.
Yeah.
So granted, it was 3 decades earlier.
Right. Yeah, it was running when I parked it there. I've actually heard that myself.
I think I've seen that on Craigslist.
Yeah. It was running when I parked it. Yeah. So I helped a friend that used to live in the neighborhood go get a Plymouth Fury 3.
Oh.
And it was running when it was parked too.
Yeah.
That's a big, long car.
Yeah, yes. He got it restored too. It looks really nice. Well, I think this brings us. Thanks, Scott.
Oh, you're welcome.
Yeah, man.
That maybe we'll rock it back to the top of the charts again with
I
this
hope
episode.
so. Yeah, maybe.
Well, I'll wrap it up with, if you want to write us, tdsrpodcast@gmail.com. We got one mailbag that we'll get back to. That's Brad, right?
Yes, we'll get back to Brad.
Brad, we're getting back to a
We haven't
mailbag.
forgotten you, man.
I was listening to a podcast. They, like every 25 episodes,
Yeah.
they do an all questions episode. So maybe like every 5 episodes we'll do a mailbag, depending on the volume of the.
It seems to be picking up.
It's picking up. So TDSR podcast at Gmail, TDSR podcast on Instagram.
You can find us wherever you get your podcasts. So if you're mobile and you don't have your normal device, go somewhere else. We'll be there.
And Emily has kept us in merchandise. So go and visit the merchandise store, buy a T-shirt.
That's right. My daughter, Emily, she does all the graphics for us. And we should have some new products coming on real soon.
You know, we can do leggings. I saw that on there the other day. Maybe we should have a TDSR leggings.
That don't sound right.
That don't.
Nah.
All right. So, thanks again.
All right.
See you guys. All right.
Bye now.
Bye.